Before we get into the episode, let's quickly recap where things stand. Robb Stark. Robb his wife killed during wedding, and Edmure has new beautiful wife, Arya Stark. Arya and Hound arrive during his brother killed. Daenerys Targaryen victory in Yunkai with her army, Sam and Gilly. Sam informs Gilly the only way to pass through this wall. Jon Snow. Jon killed Wilding during journey. Now, let's jump into the episode. While traveling through the Riverlands toward the twins, Robb Stark discusses his plan to attack Castle Rock with his mother. Acknowledging the risk, Robb argues that seizing Tywin Lannister's stronghold would shatter the illusion of his invincibility among the lords of Westeros. Catelyn, however, notes that the success of the plan hinges on Lord Frey's support, and warns that if reinforcements from King's Landing arrive before the castle falls, the Stark forces will be annihilated. After a moment of silent contemplation over the map, she firmly states, "Show them how it feels to lose what they love." Robb Stark's army arrives at the Twins, the ancestral seat of House Frey, for his uncle Edmure's wedding. Despite enduring Lord Walder Frey's insults aimed at him and his wife, Robb publicly apologizes to Frey's daughters and granddaughters for breaking his vow to marry one of them. Lord Frey accepts the apology and extends his hospitality to the Starks and their men. That evening, Edmure meets his bride, Rosalind Frey, and is relieved to find her remarkably beautiful. The wedding ceremony and the ensuing feast are filled with joy and celebration, as the guests revel in the lively atmosphere. Edmure, clearly smitten with his bride, focuses all his attention on Rosalind. As the festivities reach their peak, Lord Walder calls for the traditional bedding ceremony. Robb agrees, and the bride is carried off by the male guests, while Edmure is escorted by the Frey women. Brynden Tully, having indulged in too much wine, excuses himself from the hall, joking about finding a tree to relieve himself. As the celebration begins to wind down, Catelyn grows uneasy when she notices Black Walder Rivers shutting the banquet hall doors. The musicians in the gallery start playing The Rains of Castamere, a chilling ballad commemorating House Lannister's ruthless defeat of House Reyne. As Lord Walder rises to toast Robb, Catelyn realizes with dread that Roose Bolton is wearing chainmail beneath his clothes. Understanding they have fallen into a trap, she frantically slaps Bolton and shouts a warning to Robb, but it is too late. At Walder Frey's signal, his men launch their deadly attack. In what becomes known as the infamous Red Wedding, Lothar Frey brutally stabs the pregnant Talisa Stark in the stomach, killing her unborn child as she collapses amidst the chaos. Robb, stunned by the sudden betrayal, is struck multiple times by crossbow bolts fired by the musicians, causing him to fall to the ground. Stark's soldiers are mercilessly slaughtered, either by crossbow fire or the swords of Frey soldiers. Catelyn Stark is also shot in the back by one of the musicians and collapses to the floor. Outside the castle, Arya Stark and the Hound, who have arrived at the Twins in disguise, are turned away by Frey guards just as the massacre begins. Determined to reach her family, Arya slips away from Sandor and sneaks past the guards, only to witness Frey men slaughtering Stark soldiers and killing Grey Wind, Robb's direwolf. Desperate to save her family, Catelyn offers herself as a hostage, begging for Robb's life, while he remains frozen in grief beside Talisa's lifeless body. Walder Frey questions why he should accept Catelyn's plea, prompting her to swear on her honor as both a Tully and a Stark that she will kill his wife if he refuses to let Robb go. Unfazed, Walder chuckles and replies dismissively, "I'll find another." Robb, devastated and resigned, softly calls out "Mother," just as Roose Bolton. Leaning in close, Roose whispers chillingly, "The Lannisters send their regards," before driving a dagger into Robb's heart. Robb's eyes lock with Catelyn's as he collapses to the floor, lifeless. Overwhelmed with grief at the loss of her firstborn son, Catelyn lets out a heart-wrenching scream and fulfills her vow by slitting Joyce's throat. Stunned and broken by the tragedy, she stands motionless, accepting her fate. Black Walder silently approaches from behind and savagely slashes Catelyn's throat, sending her crumpling to the ground with a final, hollow thud. In Yunkai, outside the walls of Yunkai, Daenerys Targaryen and her commanders strategize an attack on the city. Daario Naharis, her newest captain, proposes a plan to use a lightly guarded back gate, allowing a small group to infiltrate and open the main gates for the rest of the army. Although Jorah Mormont is doubtful of both the plan and Daario's loyalty, Daenerys is persuaded after seeking Grey Worm's opinion. Encouraged to speak freely, Grey Worm expresses his trust in Daario. In a moment of flirtation, Daario touches Daenerys' hand, seeking her favor. As the commanders leave, Esser Barristan offers to join them, but Jorah reminds him that the Queensguard's duty is to stay by the Queen's side, regardless of personal pride. That night, Jorah, Daario, and Grey Worm sneak into Yunkai, battling the slave soldiers guarding the city. The number of soldiers is greater than Dario had anticipated, much to Jorah's annoyance, but the trio manages to hold their own, though barely. Hours later, an anxious Daenerys paces in her tent, asking Barristan how long it typically takes to sack a city. Eventually, Jorah and Grey Worm return, covered in dust and blood but smiling in triumph. Yunkai has fallen. Overjoyed, Daenerys immediately inquires about Dario. After a tense pause from Jorah, Dario enters, kneels before the queen, and presents Yunkai's torn flag, declaring the city hers. Beyond the wall, north of the wall, Samwell Tarly and Gilly continue their journey south, after narrowly surviving a confrontation with a White Walker, which Sam astonishingly managed to kill with a dragonglass dagger. Sam informs Gilly that they are far west of Castle Black, but reassures her that this is actually beneficial, as they are now close to the Night Fort, the original stronghold of the Night's Watch, abandoned centuries ago due to dwindling numbers. In The Gift, Bran Stark and his companions have traveled far enough north to leave the Seven Kingdoms behind and enter The Gift, a stretch of land south of the Wall that was granted to the Knights Watch by Brandon the Builder thousands of years ago to provide for their needs. The Reeds are confused by the emptiness of the countryside despite its fertile land. Bran explains, much to Osha's discomfort, that frequent wildling raids over the Wall forced most of the small folk to abandon the Gift over time. With the Night's Watch now reduced in numbers, they no longer require much support from the land, explaining the absence of any Watch brothers tending to it. Seeking refuge from a thunderstorm, Bran's group shelters in an abandoned mill. Nearby, Jon Snow and the wildling party encounter an old horse breeder living alone on a small farm, raising horses for the Night's Watch. The wildlings plan to raid the farm for horses and gold, but Jon argues that the old man poses no threat. Nevertheless, Orell and Tormund decide to kill him to prevent him from warning the Night's Watch. When they attack, Jon deliberately alerts the old man by striking a rock with his sword, allowing him to escape, and distracts Ygritte when she tries to shoot him with an arrow. In the mill, Bran and Jojen Reed discuss their plan to cross the wall when Mira spots the old man riding by. After the wildlings capture him, Hodor, frightened by the thunder, starts shouting, risking their discovery. Bran uses his warg abilities to calm Hodor by entering his mind and making him pass out. Outside, Tormund orders Jon to kill the old man to prove his loyalty, but Jon cannot bring himself to do it. Ygritte steps in and kills the man with an arrow. Realizing Jon's allegiance still lies with the Night's Watch, Tormund orders the wildlings to kill him. He restrains Ygritte as Jon fights Orell. At Jojen's urging, Bran wargs into Summer, his direwolf, to assist Jon. Summer and Shaggy Dog kill two wildlings, attacking Jon as he struggles with Orell, eventually defeating and killing him. With his final strength, Orell wargs into his eagle, which savagely attacks Jon, clawing his face before Jon fends it off. Injured, Jon mounts a nearby horse and escapes, leaving Ygritte behind as he heads back to the wall. Later that night, Bran asks Osha to take Rickon, the heir to Winterfell, if anything happens to Bran or Robb, to Last Hearth, the stronghold of House Umber. Meanwhile, Bran, Mira, and Jojen will continue north through the wall in search of the three-eyed raven. Osha promises to protect Rickon and instructs the Reeds to care for Bran before she, Rickon, and Shaggy Dog quietly depart under the cover of night.